So far, a handful of laps and shaking around fourth. This guy left. I think he's here. I'm not sure. I just saw him disconnected. Yeah, this doesn't have all of the stuff that comes up in the chat, so I don't know how to get the chat. There's no voice chat. The only thing is the Discord bunch. Maybe that's what they're doing. Let me see. There's only a couple of guys. Who are these guys? Steve. Kenwood. See Steve Kenwood. Ludwig say this guy's here. Pedro Fauska. Oh, not Mosca. So I say he's here and he's here in the Discord. Steve Kenwood, I don't know if he's got a different handle or what. So maybe I'll join the Discord chat. Hello all.
Hi there.
I'm the new guy.
Well, that doesn't narrow it down much. Lots of new guys.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, my name's Doug. Showing up in the driver thing is DWC 1962. I don't know how to change that. And I'm also shown as in Britain, and I'm not.
All right. Yeah, flags are always a little bit weird in AMS2.
It was
a little bit flaky.
It was a US yesterday. It was Brit the first time I joined last week. But now it's back to Britain, so it doesn't know where to put me. But anyway.
Welcome. From your handle, then, I'm guessing you're actual proper Club 50 age driver.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's my birth date, 1962, so yes. One question I have though is, do you do these starting with a full tank, and would there be a pit stop? I'm trying to calculate. I can't quite make it.
I think I've not worked it out yet, but I'm pretty sure it needs a pit stop for fuel. I mean, it just depends on whether you want to go like a half tank, and then refuel at some, or 3/4 and refuel, or start with full and go as long as you can.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I'm not sure with these cars. I'm not sure whether the fueling and the tyres are done simultaneously with these cars. Because that sometimes
the fuel and the tyres can be done simultaneously.
Oh, good. Because otherwise, sometimes it makes sense to load up on fuel to cut down on the pit stop.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
I'm trying to get my overlays to work. I should publish. I just had some idea based on some overlay that I saw, and I created like a bar to overlay on top of the game. It's just a small bar, but it says important stuff like the track and air temperature and the water and engine temperature, so you can always watch out your engine while driving. Especially if you have stronger engine braking or if you're downshifting very quickly. And I also have some damage percentages. Then I have the time my current fuel will last how much fuel do I currently have, but that's in the game. But the most important thing is how much fuel I'm spending every lap. And this usually calculates better than Automobilista 2.
All right.
And based on these numbers, then I can do some math about the fuel to be safe. Because before I started using this overlay, I used to lose races because I didn't pack enough fuel. I was very frustrated with some low fuel motorsport race that they were transmitting on their Twitch, some GT4 race at Long Beach. And I was like a rookie, I didn't have like any ratings or whatever there, and I was quite happy to be in P3 on some big event with big names. And then suddenly I didn't have fuel for the 2 last laps, which is a shame.
You'll have to probably see something he usually races Wednesday nights, but Anthony in Club 50 certainly plays around with. I think he's working on some sort of heads up as well.
Eventually you have to, because otherwise you'll be losing races. Automobilista 2 calculates fuel pretty badly, and especially for some cars. Like the GT4s are a bit egregious, but the worst is the LMDH because of the hybrid system.
Yeah.
And especially if you just rely on quali. In many online races you don't have much practice, like it's 2 minutes or 3 of practice. Yeah. And in quali you always have the full power during the whole quali, or maybe not, but you can spend a lot of power, and that reduces a lot the fuel consumption. So you don't really know until you drive that car in practice for a while, you don't know how much that car will consume on fuel.
I tend to sort of play it very safe and just overfuel.
Yeah, but then if you do that all the time, you end up losing some lap time because you always carry too much fuel.
There is that, yeah.
Can't remember. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is quite bad. I'm spending in the Mercedes C9 4.56 liters a lap, meaning that 100 liters will give me 37 minutes.
Certainly I figured it wasn't going to last the full race. Not unless you turn the mixture down and you're doing some sort of fuel saving, which...
You can't really do much fuel saving in AMS2. You can try, but you can squeeze 1 lap or 2 at most, and you lose a ton of lap time doing so.
Yeah. Though Pedro
not...
quite often does quite well with the fuel saving.
I think he was Pedro fuel saving last race. Are you there, Pedro?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
You were not fuel saving. I didn't think you needed it, and you were at a decent pace.
I don't remember. Did we have to stop on that?
You didn't stop. I think your engine blew up.
Yeah.
For me, for the first race, I blew up my engine. Yeah, I did a.
But I was with the Porsche. I don't know if it's.
Yeah, the same for every car.
It's the same. Okay.
I know the Mercedes can be very, very quick, and the car is so damn fast that I usually try to bet on creating a gap to have enough time for a pit stop. But my mistake on last race was that because of the radiator opening or some aggressive downshifting, I had some engine damage. I had like 2 or 3 points, which I thought it was very little. But then it took me 30 seconds more in the pits to repair those points.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Otherwise, if I didn't have any repair, I would get out of the pits in front of Pedro. But because I have the repair on, and I thought, oh, it's just 2 or 3 points on the engine, I'm not going to worry about it. They'll repair it quickly.
Yeah, we always disable. Yeah, generally speaking, we disable the engine repair.
Yeah. Maybe it's even better to run a little bit more open radiator just to be safe once again. Depends on the car, of course, and how much engine braking you have and how aggressive are you with the downshift. which with these cars can also be dangerous for spin. Yeah, but Pedro was going to win this race, the last race, quite comfortable.
Yeah, but I changed from fifth to second on the last corners.
How did you manage that?
It's with the H shifter.
Yeah. But well, depends on your shifter, but it's such a huge distance. I wanted to use my shifter more and to drive older cars more, but I'm stuck with the Formula wheel. And what happens sometimes is that because these cars are very dangerous, and I have a Formula wheel, which means you turn it a little bit, just a little bit, and the car turns a lot. And because it's not a round wheel, sometimes when I try to grab the wheel back, if I have some moment, oversteer moment or a spin, every time I try to grab the wheel back really fast, I miss the handles. I always hit some button, like the pit stop, or I turn the car off, or something like that, something really stupid. It's terrible to try to drive sometimes with such a small wheel.
I have two wheels, one round and another one like a U shape.
Oh yeah, the GT shape.
Yes, the round wheel. I don't have the gears on the wheel. I have always to.
Oh, it's a vintage stuff. I actually wanted a round wheel to replace this one. Somehow I'm a bit disappointed with Fanatec because this is something very strange, very weird. Nobody talks about it. But I think the wheels are a bit crappy. really crappy. I mean, I wasn't expecting this to be this bad, but especially on the wheel that comes with the podium bases, that should be a very strong wheel and should be like it's made of carbon fiber, the blue carbon with the F1 logo. The handles flex a lot. It's like I'm holding some. The wheel itself everything feels nice, but then the handles, it's like it's the handles from a Thrustmaster wheel. It's just inside. I don't know how bad that is.
I don't have any of the Fanatec side. I have the hub,
Okay,
and then it got some wheels that I like.
Okay.
Normal wheels. I think they have Tokyo for
I kind of think for me the only thing that would work, because I tend to use a lot of force on the DD1, and to some points, to some extent, it's my fault because who wants to run a DD1 at 20 Newton meters? But sometimes I'm running it close to 20, depending on the pen, force feedback and everything, and I run everything quite high. And sometimes I think maybe I'm using too much force, and these wheels are like from the Club Sport series. They were never meant to endure this force, and I should be using a podium class wheel, but I can't afford to buy the BMW wheel or the Bentley wheel. Maybe the Porsche GT Challenge or something like that have the endurance model, but then they have that golden hub behind. I think that golden hub with the metal to help out with the screws directly onto the wheel rim. You need to have the hub made of metal and the wheel rim made of metal, and then you'll have a secure wheel. But it's so strange because I've had a round wheel before, because I've had two DD1s. At some point I did some crazy second-hand deals, and I actually had a BMW M3 GT2 wheel, and that thing was rock solid.
Using it on the direct drive, it uses the standard motorsport pump.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
At the moment I'm using a round wheel, which is just a round wheel from a car, from, again, like motorsports. But it's just the most bog standard, no buttons, nothing. And it was only about 30 quid, but it's rock solid. Just a proper wheel.
Yeah, you are using a proper wheel from a car. It's completely different. you have a really nice base, man. I live Bodnar.
Yeah, so never really taken off out there, and they're about the first direct drive. But
No, I think they really taken off. I think they have like a really nice website. They've went many iterations and many versions. I just don't think that most people can afford those, because from what I saw, and you also need a little bit more of cable management. And people want to go with easier options. You might not have the same options on the SimCube software. The same options on the Leo Bodnar that you would have on the SimCube software, like coming with already made profiles, coming with already shipped quick releases, where you just buy a quick release from SimCube and you just attach the wheel you want. You know, the reason why Fanatec sells so well, and Moz and all these other brands, it's the ease of use. Even the other day I was in the Razer forum asking Daniel Cart about his experience with other bases and telling him, but can I have programmable LEDs on any SimCube software? Because on the FunnelLab software I have more than 300, 400 profiles for every game. I've created profiles where I change the damping or I change the rotation, but I can have profiles loaded for every single car. And that's a huge quality of life that you don't even worry about that. I also have like lots of LEDs that mimic the cars in game. Sometimes I think about getting some handles from the UK. I think there is a website there called Pineapple Grips, and they do some upgrades for these Fanatec wheels. It's quite funny, but the third-party mods are upgrades and are better than the things made by Fanatec.
So, I think it's very good.
The new CSL direct drive.
Yes. First, the direct drive, not cheap, but very cheap to the.
Oh, yeah. No, that's insanely cheap. Even before we were talking about Leo Bodnar, which is, I think the cheapest Leo Bodnar is like the SimCube 2 Ultimate. Not the Pro, but the Ultimate. SimCube is actually cheap compared to many other high-end things. At least the bases are. The pedals maybe not. Sim racing is still like insanely cheap compared to racing in real life.
much safer as well.
I think on the GT3s each Pirelli tire costs like 3,000. And I once was looking at the guys from SSR Performance, the guys that won the DTM championship last year. I've met them here in Portimao. I had a friend that worked there that was also in sim racing and everything. And I was looking at the broken Porsche splitter. The carbon splitter in the front of the car, just underneath the front bumper. And the team manager was complaining that the splitter costs 15,000. And that they were going to try to save that one.
Yes, I suppose. It's more going to be like an MX5 or a Clio or something like that.
Yeah. But then, who really wants to drive that?
I mean, sim racing, I love MX5s. Great car.
I used to run a lot in Assetto Corsa World Sim Series. So I ran so much of that I got a little bit bored of the MX5 actually. Taking this seriously, I forgot that I was in qualification. I was just like not really caring.
Well, depending on how long the stop lasts, probably about 26 laps. Maybe 27, probably not.
Podes ligar o ar-condicionado, se o ar-condicionado.
I've not even checked what tires I've been using. With the, because I've not done a long run on these, were the softs holding up? I can't remember, or were they? Did you need to go hard, slick?
You can change the tires for free if you go to the pits, so I'm always on the softs. As long as you don't have like big lockups or anything like that.
Which obviously is always possible.
I forgot to restart the AMS2. If I don't get any bugs. I just can't use my overlays. They're not staying on top. Okay, now they're staying on top. Good luck, have fun, guys.
Yep. You too.
Yeah, good luck, everybody.
Yeah, thanks.
Not sure if the engine's going to start automatically here or not. Oh, good it is, yeah.
You got to be careful with the curves. I think he got nervous. I was following him a bit close.
Sorry about the start. I did not have the automatic engine start. It wouldn't start fast enough.
That's what I was worried about. I've got it switched on, but in practice it wasn't working. And you've got to do both the ignition and the starter.
I saw someone coming the other way around. Like coming in reverse way around the truck.
just checking that spot when everybody goes to watch.
thought you guys were going to keep fighting for position. That would have been very useful for me. actually overfueled. I still have 10 minutes of fuel.
Got like 25 litres, whatever that is, yeah.
I have 26 right now, so I'm quite a bit
He didn't
over.
run out, he's just gone into the pits to fill up, so...
Yeah, but that's better than running out and having a DNF.
Oh, yes.
That's the thing. And I lost 8 seconds to catch him because I just hit the wall after hitting a curb. I actually have the car damaged right now.
It's only got 1% damage on the engine. Like, downshift on, I guess.
I also only have 1% damage on the engine. I damaged was the front splitter. raceman.
Congratulations. Couldn't stay on one lap. One. I can get a little bit of run for money.
Yes.
1.6 liters of fuel left, no pit stop.
I didn't pit too,
But I had to drive like a turtle.
but
Yeah.
I crashed 10 times, so was better to pit and go fast.
I think Persia was faster than me.
You got the fastest lap.
Again. Well, maybe it was just a stroke
pretty
of luck
close,
because we were pretty close. I think you had more consistency than me on your raw pace. You were faster than me on this track because you were catching me up. But the problem is that if you have a big inconsistency like that spin over the curb, that really spoils your race. Like you lose 10-20 seconds there, which is our difference at the end of the race actually.
Well,
So
I
if
had a couple of kind of spins, minor spins in the stadium section.
Okay.
Yeah.
So imagine if you didn't have any of those spins, just by raw pace you would have overtook me. Because by the end I had a few lockups and I was struggling in the braking zones because my front tires were starting to get flat spotted. So I started to get to the point where I couldn't really trail brake much. And every time I tried to replicate my fastest lap, I would end up locking the fronts because I had flat spots there. You got me worried for a moment there. And also Lizzo, because when I saw lists of Leha that he wasn't pitting for quite a long time, I was thinking maybe he won't be pitting.